Hey everyone, I just wanted to hop on a quick talking head video. Nothing fancy, not that any of my videos are fancy, but I just want to hop on and kind of give you some of my thoughts about the very recent news that Thrive Themes was acquired by a company called Awesome Motive. I definitely appreciate the dozens of you that have emailed me or DM'd me and asked, what's the future hold for Thrive Themes? Is this a negative? Is this a bad thing? What's going on? Should I panic? Should I change tools? I think all of those reactions and feelings are justified. I think we all have reason to obviously raise questions when it comes to the future of a tool that we consider central to the entire ecosystem of our tech stack, which is why I wanted to record this video to kind of give some of my thoughts on how I'm feeling to answer some of your specific questions. In the news announcement that you can read on Thrive Themes' official website on their blog, you can see that Shane Mallah has posted kind of his exit, his goodbye. Just my thoughts on that real quick, because I know some of you have asked. Shane, I don't feel like has been much a part of the company for several years now. He kind of handed over a lot of that a while ago to the rest of the team, who have done a phenomenal job. And I don't have any special insights into behind the scenes. This is just observations. I know that Shane was for a really long time a very public face and felt like Thrive Themes was Shane. I think even in his blog post somewhere here, he talks about how, he was Thrive Themes right here, like looked like I was Thrive Themes and Thrive Themes is me. This might have been the case in like 2013 to 2016, but for me, since then, that hasn't been the case. I feel like Thrive Themes has been in the very capable hands of people like Hannah, who's departed, Brad, and just the rest of the team behind the scenes, who I don't even think their names are very, very public at all. They've done a phenomenal job. So when it comes to the product and Shane not being there and Shane selling the company, to me, that's a non-issue. The Thrive Themes product development, product cycle, update cycle, all that good stuff has been in, let me switch back to me here. All of that I think has been in really good hands for quite some time. Personally, and this ties into one of my biggest concerns, or one of my biggest disappointments, I guess, is that my hope is that nothing changes with the product development cycle. Thrive Themes has always set itself apart by approaching this in a different way than I think a lot of plugins do. Thrive has always been more careful and methodical and thoughtful. These are just words that I'm ascribing to a company, right? A company doesn't actually have these attributes necessarily as a living entity, but I feel like as a company, they've been able to embody a certain approach to creating a product that is not common. It's not a widespread approach. You see some companies out there that launch a brand new product and the updates are like a shotgun, right? They're just bam, bam, scattershot. People make a request. We got this. People make a request. It's out there. And that ends up with bugs or things being half-baked. And you often walk away with this feeling like, oh, they kind of got everything I need, but it just doesn't feel like it was baked cohesively. Whereas with Thrive, the criticism is usually, oh, they're so slow to update. But when they roll out with big updates, they're big updates, right? Think of like Thrive Apprentice 4.0 and even the recent Thrive Apprentice 5.0 or Thrive Theme Builder, Thrive Architect it used to be like just Thrive Builder, right? Like those big, huge, monumental changes. To me, those were well thought out and crafted over the course of time with a beta community and an alpha community, and thought went into a lot of those updates. So we'll come back to that in a second because that's kind of baked into some of my concern. But let's jump back in and look at the announcement about Awesome Motive. I got the question from a lot of you, who is Awesome Motive? Conveniently, they've addressed some of this. Awesome Motive is a company that, again, I'm not an expert on this. I just know what I see, right? They own a bunch of these big brands that you've probably heard of most of. Things like they're the WP Beginner website. I haven't personally gone there in so many years. They own WP Forums and Monster Insights, and or they've acquired, right? They've acquired things like Affiliate WP, Easy Digital Downloads, WP Simple Pay. The list goes on. Awesome Motive, in addition to their brands, has what they call their investments. If you scroll down here, a bunch of names you've probably even heard of even more. MemberPress, Formidable Forms, Uncanny Owl, which makes things like, there it is, Uncanny Automator, Pretty Links, so on and so forth. They invest in a lot of tools, right? And by invest, this typically means that they either take a large investment share or they take sometimes a majority share, and they've invested in these companies in a big way. Now, the investment in some of these, in some cases, has been good. For many years, I used Formidable Forms as one example, and they were acquired by Automotive, and there were immediate improvements. The interface of this tool got better, customer support got better. It looked like they were growing. And in many ways, I think that's the same for all of these tools. I think that an acquisition feels nefarious and insidious by nature, at least to me, but it's a very normal part of business. And while I'm just like you. I don't feel comfortable when the tools that I use get acquired by other companies. It feels not good. But it's a normal part of doing business. And I have to check myself and I have to detach myself from the emotion of it not feeling good with the just general acceptance that this is okay. This is part of business. This type of thing should be expected. A lot of people make companies with the goal to sell them, especially software companies. So I'll speak for myself and say if I can detach the emotion from it and say, okay, let's just look at we can call them mechanics or the way a business is run. Generally speaking, this may not be a bad thing at all for Thrive. And I want to walk through a couple of my thoughts on that. With Automotive acquiring Thrive Themes, I think we can all acknowledge first off that Thrive Themes was always more of a niche product. It has something like 200,000 plus users. I don't know if that number's accurate. I don't know anything about the numbers. But I think we all can agree when you compare Thrive to a lot of the other tools out there on the market, I think the market share is relatively smaller. That's never been a problem for me. I don't care how many people use the tools that I like to use. However, if the size of the company has a big impact on the revenue that they can generate and the speed at which they can develop their product in a good way, right? Because I'll caveat a lot of this by saying faster development, I'm fine with if they don't leave behind the core tenets of how they've always developed their product. So more money could be a very good thing. More growth, more market share, more people using Thrive. That's an amazing thing. Selfishly, that's an amazing thing for me, right? Because I've built an entire business that orbits in a big way, not entirely, but in a big way around the Thrive suite of products. So if more people come into this orbit with me, I can potentially reach more customers. That's terrific. That's fantastic. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of more people using Thrive because Thrive is a terrific tool. With that growth, however, often comes some business practices, some things that I don't always feel good about. The first one is how Automotive or their brands or their investments, it's how they do their pricing. And this is not unique to them. And also, this is not an indictment on this business practice. If you do this, I just want to point this out and just share how I feel. I am not a fan of the buy our product for $199, $200 a year, and have it renew at twice the price. I'm just not a fan of that. This is WP Forms. This is WP Affiliate. This is Seed Prod, Easy Digital Downloads, WP Simple Pay. The list goes on, and now to include Thrive. You know, I don't love this method. I like knowing that if a product is going to be $200, $299 a year, it's $299 a year. Let's not put an asterisk and say that it renews at full price. That's a personal opinion, but I feel like it brings with it a type of marketing slant that doesn't sit terrifically with me. And I don't think it sits terrifically with the position that Thrive has always taken of how they sell their products. Their products have traditionally always been very transparent in pricing. And this is transparent. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not trying to call foul here. There's nothing wrong with this from just a general practice, right? They're not hiding anything. But to me, this doesn't feel good as a consumer. I also don't like the general way in which all of the products that Automotive works with, the price tends to go up in a very, very big way. And again, this is not a negative thing per se. I think if you raise your prices and people are willing to pay it and you're competitively priced, fine. However, I kind of take issue with, again, this is more of just a feeling, and I do want to detach, we'll get there in a second, detach the emotion from it. But If every product Automotive acquires or invests in goes from being $199 a year to $599 a year, and the product itself didn't change, if that didn't improve, the question becomes, I have to think in my head, how do we balance the value? Are they saying now, where did the change in value come from? Is the product really just overnight better? Was it really just that woefully underpriced in the market? Why the price change, right? And again, I don't even know if Thrive changed their price. I've been with Thrive since 2013. What is that? 10 years almost? 10 years? Wow. Almost 10 years now. And they did say, this is a question so many of you asked, it is answered in their blog post. They did say nothing will change for grandfathered members, etc. And I also hope nothing changes for affiliates, right? Some of us have been affiliates for a really long time, and some of us have worked with the company for a long time. I hope none of that changes, but I think that we can all think of this like a business. Things change. Businesses change. Businesses say things won't change, and they do change anyway. Let's take a step back. And this is the most important thing for me that I was talking about in the Convology community this morning with a bunch of you. Thrive Themes, let's call it Thrive Suite, the Thrive Suite of products, mechanically remains the best tools that you can use to build a business on WordPress. I firmly believe that. I use Thrive Suite for all of my projects, all of my personal projects, my business projects, and my clients. Objectively, I want to use the best tools to get the job done. Price becomes mostly irrelevant at that point, as long as the value exchange is there. Who owns the product? I really don't care, right? That has nothing to do with the amazing mechanics of using the product. If the product remains the same and gets better, and barring some never going to happen terrible business practices that just destroy and corrupt the company down the line, right? Barring that, Thrive is a fantastic product to use. Bluntly, this has always been the case, regardless if Shane is the owner or Brad is the CEO or whoever is in charge of the company, right? Regardless of any of that, I won't switch from Thrive until it's no longer the best tool to use to get the job done the best way. I mentioned earlier how I've built a business that orbits around the Thrive ecosystem. That business can easily orbit around any product that becomes the best product to use. And I can easily pivot from one product to another to help people find and use the best products they can in a digital tech stack sense to grow their business and accomplish their online objectives. That doesn't change, right? And honestly, I don't think that changes for Thrive either. I don't think suddenly they're going to go from what made them successful to do something that would make them much less successful in this market space. Now, I want to echo what I've said to many of you this morning. And this part sounds a little cheesy, right? But whatever happens, we weather it together. If Thrive becomes not the tool to use anymore, we find a new one. And that's on them, right? That's on them to make sure that they continue to make the best tools, the best product possible for us, their consumer. That's why they exist as a business, right? To get our money and we get value and they get value and there's that exchange, right? That's why they exist. That's why we use the tool. And if that's no longer the case, we find another one and we still accomplish all of our goals together. So that's the cheesy part. So am I optimistic or pessimistic? I'm really neither right now. I'm not optimistic because something changed that I thought was going perfectly fine. And I'm not pessimistic because Thrive is still technically and mechanically the best tool to get the job done, and nothing's changed. And if it does, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But that's it for now. Stay tuned. There are lots more tutorials coming, particularly for Thrive, which is still a fantastic product.